give me directions to your place? If you were words on a page, you'd be fine print. If you were a laser, you'd be set on stunning.
Happy Valentine's Day. Some of you may know, last year I made a Valentine's Day video, and there's no way I'm ever going to top that because it was a disaster. Yet it beautifully worked together when I edited two different videos together, and it was basically just like it turned out to be a huge parody. I'm not going to try to do anything like that. I'm just going to talk about stuff that is kind of Valentine's Day related and go from there. I want you all to meet my prince. I'm going to kiss him through the glass and you're going to watch him grow into my prince. I swear to God, if this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I really want to talk about Paul McCartney's Kisses on the Bottom album. When I first heard the title's name, I was just kind of like, really, Paul? But it's really grown on me, especially after I learned what it really meant and what it's referencing to. Which, if you don't know, it's a line of a song and, you know, kisses on the bottom of a letter. I think this is kind of the perfect video to talk about his album because it is Valentine's Day this week. I wasn't sure if I was going to get Paul's album until I decided that I should really do it, if not for myself, then for all of you who are interested in the album but aren't sure whether or not to get it. There are 17 tracks on the album, and I thought it would be more of a crooner album like Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole, but it's actually all jazz. And I'm not really sure of the difference between like a crooner album and a jazz album, but when you think of jazz, you think of a string quartet or something like that. It's more like that than Frank Sinatra's Fly Me to the Moon. So that was difficult for me to grasp onto because I've always loved Frank Sinatra and all of that. Also, I was kind of upset to think that Paul McCartney would go the way of jazz, like so many before him, like Rod Stewart. I had this thing in my mind that it's kind of like a last album sort of thing, or last genre, because Paul is rock and pop, but not jazz, not the slow stuff. But when you actually listen to it, there's bleh. I'm throwing up rainbows. I don't believe Paul does any of the instrumentals himself. There's a really cool interview with Paul on the jacket sleeve when you buy it on iTunes. So that gave me a lot of insight into why he actually did this album. It's basically to pay homage to the songs of his parents' generation, what he grew up listening to on New Year's Eve when his parents would gather around with their friends and sing. So it's actually a very nice thing to do. Nothing's wrong with that. I think that this is a good move for Paul. And I do recommend getting it. Last Thursday he played a live performance with a live band on iTunes, and it was really cool. It was filmed in black and white, and Paul was very candid and very awkward. It was really funny because at one point he thought that they weren't live anymore, and he was like, "Are we live? Are we?" So he didn't quite know what to do or say, but it was very old school. And Paul would sing with his hands, which is really cute. And like through this whole thing, I was thinking, I wonder what John would think of this. And I don't know how to answer that. What do you guys think? Happy Valentine's Day. Enjoy the over-commercialization of love and of the Beatles. If you don't have someone to celebrate Valentine's Day with, that's okay. You can celebrate with me. It's really hard when you like somebody that you can't be with. But I think if you're in that situation, you can learn to just love them as a human being. And I think that's a really good thing, because it's very hard nowadays to find someone who genuinely cares for you, doesn't want anything from you really, except for you to be happy, of course. And if you don't like anybody, that's kind of a good thing, right? Because you don't have to worry. Well, goodbye.